Good morning, dear cadets. So yesterday I taught you the methods of preparation of protein, or you can say peptide chains, peptide bonds, peptide linkage. Okay, so just see, the ultimate monomer of protein is amino acids only. Okay, you will have more idea about the structures of protein. But first I would like to teach this one, classification of proteins. So in the studies, the crux of the matter is, if 2 amino acid is there, then 1 peptide linkage. But if 3 amino acids are there, 3 amino acids are there, then 2 peptide linkage. If 4 amino acids are there, then peptide linkage would be 3. Always remember, the number of means when 2 amino acids undergo condensation, then product is formed. That product is known as peptide. Okay, when 2 or more amino acids undergoes condensation reaction, then what is formed? Peptide is formed. The product name of amino acid reaction is peptide. Now that peptide may be called dipeptide, tripeptide, tetrapeptide, pentapeptide, hexapeptide, depends upon the number of amino acids take part in the formation of that peptide. Okay, so di, tri, tetra, that is the number of amino acids. Okay, but product is peptide only. Remember, another important thing is, in a particular peptide, how many peptide linkage would be there? Their number would always be 1 less than the total number of amino acid present in that peptide. Means, if one peptide 10 amino acids are there, then peptide linkage would be 9. Okay, and yesterday I have explained this one. Please remember that one. Okay, and one particular example also I have given you. Now let us move toward the classification of proteins. So this is the classification which is based on the molecular structure of protein. Okay, so basically on the basis of molecular shape of protein, 2 types of proteins are there: fibrous protein and globular protein. What are the fibrous protein? When the actually just see, amino acids come together and they form peptide. Many peptide comes together and they form polypeptide. Many polypeptides come together and they form proteins. So the the structural component of protein is polypeptide chain. Okay, always remember, when you keep on hydrolysis of protein, then ultimately you will get the amino acids. Like suppose you are digging the well, so first what should be there? Different layers of soil would be there, and ultimately in the bottommost layer, aquifer, you will get the water. Okay, aquifer is the water bearing layer of rocks. Okay, similarly here, if protein is subjected for hydrolysis, so the first hydrolysis product of protein is polypeptides. When polypeptides are subjected for hydrolysis, then peptide. When peptide is subjected for hydrolysis, then amino acids. So what I want to convey you here, if we are talking of proteins, it means we are talking of polypeptide chain only, because they are the immediate structural component of protein. So fibrous protein and globular protein, they means we can explain them, we can differentiate them on the basis of polypeptide chain present in fibrous and globular protein. So just see, in the fibrous protein, what is happening? Polypeptide chains are running parallel. Polypeptide chains are running parallel. So what we can say? They are basically linear types of protein. Okay, so when the polypeptide chains are run parallel and held together by hydrogen bond and disulfide bond, then fiber-like structure is formed, and this fiber-like structure is only called fibrous protein. Once again listen, means see, suppose this is one fiber-like structure and this is another fiber-like structure. So these fibrous structure, they are held together by hydrogen bond. are disulfide bond, just like a glycosid. What is glycosidic linkage? Means linkage by divalent oxygen. So similarly, disulfide bond is linkage by divalent sulfur. Okay, this is sulfide linkage. This is sulfide linkage. So here what is there? Polypeptide chains are running parallel and they are held together by either by hydrogen bond or by disulfide linkage or disulfide bonds. Okay, this is the first characteristics, and in this way fiber like structure is formed. That is why they are called fibrous protein. Now try to understand. These hydrogen bond and disulfide bond, they are strong, so that is why they are insoluble in water. These are formed by the linear condensation of amino acids. Of course, protein is formed by the amino acids only. So here condensation, see, condensation reaction may be two types: linear condensation and cross-linked condensation. Okay, so these are linear condensation product of amino acids. Okay, one more thing is there. These proteins, fibrous protein, they are stabilized by intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Intra. Write down here. Intramolecular hydrogen bonding. No, it is inter only. Intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Just see. Intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Like just see, this is one polypeptide chain, this is another polypeptide chain. So just see, both are separate entity, but they are held together by hydrogen bond. So this type of hydrogen bonding is when hydrogen bond is formed between two molecules, that is intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So fibrous protein, they are held together by intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Now what are the example? Keratin and myosin. Some other examples are also there. Collagen. One more example you can write. Collagen. Okay, this collagen. So keratin, myosin, collagen. These are the example. Keratin is present in hair, wool, silk. Okay, myosin is muscles protein. Okay, it is found in muscles, and collagen is found in tendons. Tendons means it is one type of structure which is formed in our bones. Okay, so collagen, myosin, keratin. Okay, now just see, I wrote point by point so that distinction can be written. Next one is globular protein. In globular protein, what is there? Polypeptide chains are coiling. What they are doing? They are coiling together and giving the spherical shape to the protein. That is why they are called globular protein. Here in first case, what is there? Polypeptide chains are running parallel, but they are held together by disulfide linkage or hydrogen bonding. Here what is there? These polypeptide chains are coiling around and giving spherical shape. That is why they are called globular protein. Now try to understand here. They are water soluble. While they were water insoluble. Third one is, these are cross-linked condensation product. What is this one? Cross-linked condensation product. Okay, just see, because of cross-linking presence, these are cross-linked condensation product. Let me clarify. Fibrous, linear, yes, they are cross-linked condensation product. Okay, now try to understand. These are stabilized by intramolecular hydrogen bonding. Okay, intermolecular is not there, intramolecular hydrogen bonding is there. Okay, and you know that because of intramolecular hydrogen bonding, cyclization means globular structure is formed. So always remember here, in globular protein, intramolecular hydrogen bonding is there. Okay, now what are the example of globular protein? The best example is insulin, albumins. And what is albumins? White part of eggs. All enzymes, all are hormones, they belongs to this category only, globular protein. So point by point if you will write, so distinction will also be ready. Always remember that they may ask one particular examples, or they may ask the difference between. Okay, so in this way the classification of proteins is over. Now structures of protein, that is the most important. Okay, so now structures of protein or levels of protein structure. Actually, you know that protein structure is very complex. Okay, protein structure is very complex. That is why single level or in one line or two line we can't explain the structure of protein. That is why which word I use, levels of protein structure. So there are different levels of protein structure, and in different level different kinds of things, their sequence, their arrangement we will study. Okay, so as we know that proteins are made up of polypeptide chains. Polypeptide chains are made up of peptides, and peptides are made up of amino acids. We can go in this direction also. So many amino acids combine together and they form peptides. So many peptides come together and they form polypeptides. So many polypeptides come together and they form proteins. Okay, so ultimately protein immediate monomer is polypeptide. Ultimate polymer is amino acid, but immediate monomer is polypeptide chains. Okay, and now just see. So these many things should be there in the structure of protein, or these many things are there in the structure of protein. So how many things would be there in the structure of protein? Just see. Since amino acids are the building blocks, so the sequence of amino acid would be there. Okay, and now try to understand, when amino acids are there, so definitely peptides and polypeptides would also be there. There is no distinction between peptide and polypeptide, only the number of amino acid. Actually polypeptides are peptides only. What is the difference? Means there is a one particular limit. If they are exceeding that limit, means in one polypeptide near about 100 amino acids should be there. 100 amino acids should be there. Correct or not? And in terms of molecular mass also I told you 10,000. Okay, up to 10,000 they are called polypeptide, peptides. Beyond that one, up to 10,000 they called polypeptide. Beyond that one they called proteins. Okay, so peptides, sequence of amino acid is there in the structure of protein. Then what should be there? As I told you, peptide and polypeptide both are same things only. In peptide, what is there? Peptide is the name of product. When amino acids condense together, and when so many amino acids condense together, then it become polypeptide. So polypeptide is also peptide only. Only the thing is number of amino acids are more, or you can say many number of peptide linkages are there. Okay, we can say like that also. So first thing in protein structure is sequence of amino acids. Second one thing is, okay, polypeptides are there. So when polypeptides are there, then manner in which polypeptide chains are folded or arranged, means what should be there? Amino acid sequence. After amino acids, what is the sequence of polypeptide chains? What is the arrangement of polypeptide chain in the protein structure? That should also be there. Okay, so the manner in which polypeptide chains are folded or arranged in protein structure, correct, that should also be present in the protein structures. Okay, so just see the manner in which polypeptide chains are folded or arranged, so that only will decide the shape or conformation of protein. Shape or conformation of protein. Okay, so manner in which polypeptide chains are folded, that they are folded in two ways: alpha helix ways or beta pleated sheet way. Okay, so that is why this is known as alpha helix structure and beta pleated structure. We'll tell you that one also separately. Okay, so we have decided the sequence and arrangement of polypeptide chains also. Now just see, suppose this is my hand. Okay, This is my hand. It is like that or not? Bend. Okay. But try to understand. We can bend it further. Just see. It is there. Now beyond that I can't do. Okay. Because this is the ultimate. Okay. So manner in which polypeptide chains are folded or arranged, they can be further can be folded, further can be coiled, further can be bent. Okay. So when these polypeptide chains are further bent, further coiled, further folded, then what would be there? You will get the overall shape of protein. That is the final folding, final bending, final coiling. Okay. So where it is happening? It is happening in polypeptide chains only. And you know polypeptide chains are only forming the proteins. Okay. So this is also there in the structure of protein. What is the fourth one thing? Do you think that in one protein molecules only one polypeptide chain would be there? There may be so many polypeptide chains. So those so many polypeptide chains, they are called subunits or sub-polypeptide chains. So their sequence, their arrangement, their number should also be determined or not. So in the structure of protein, basically how many things are there? Number one thing is the sequence of amino acid. Second one thing is the manner in which polypeptide chains are folded or arranged in protein structure. Third one thing is how finally, means what would be the final folding, what would be the final coiling, what would be the final bending of polypeptide chain in the protein structure. That only will give the final structure or overall structure of protein. Moreover to this, one more thing is there. Sometime what is there in any protein or in some protein, what is there? So many polypeptide chains are there. So those so many polypeptide chains, they are called subunits or sub-polypeptide chain. So what is their number? What is their sequence? What is their arrangement in the protein? Okay. So I wrote here, fourth one thing, arrangements of subunits of polypeptide chains. Okay. Arrangement, here please add one word, number and arrangements of subunits of polypeptide chains. Okay. So these four things are there, and these four things should be studied in different levels. So when we are studying the sequence, means when we study the sequence of amino acids in protein, that is called primary structure of protein. So in the primary structure of protein, we study only the sequence of amino acid. In each protein, there should be a proper sequence of amino acid. If this sequence is disturbed, then what would be there? Protein would be disturbed and you will fall sick. Like, just see. Hemoglobin, you might have heard about the hemoglobin. In hemoglobin, amino acids are arranged in a proper sequence. What is their sequence? First valine should be there, then histamine should be there, then threonine should be there, prothrombin should be there, then glutamic acid, then lysine should be there. This is the arrangement. No need to by heart this one. This is the proper arrangement. But try to understand. Even if one amino acid is disturbed, especially one sickle cell anemia, have you heard or not? In sickle cell anemia, instead of one particular amino acid, what is the name of that amino acid? Glutamic acid. In place of glutamic acid, valine will come. And the moment valine will come, now what would be there? The oxygen carrying capacity of hemoglobin will be reduced and you will become weak, because the supply of oxygen won't be there in your body. Who is carrying the oxygen in your body? Different parts of cell, different body parts of the body. Hemoglobin only. Now one amino acid sequence is disturbed, means entire thing will be disturbed and you will fall sick. The best example is sequence of amino acids in hemoglobin. So in the primary structure, we have to study the sequence of amino acid. Manner in which polypeptide chains are folded or arranged in protein structures, that only decide the shape or conformation of protein that we will study in secondary structure of protein. So the manner in which polypeptide chains are folded or arranged, that we will study in the secondary structure of protein. So their folding may be two types, alpha helix way or beta plated structure. Separately we will deal this one. Okay, in tertiary structure of protein, what we will study? We will study the further folding, further coiling, further bending of polypeptide chain. Means in tertiary structure we will include the secondary structure of protein. Okay, means whatever structure was protein having in the secondary level, their final bending, final coiling, final folding, that would decide the ultimate shape, overall shape of protein, we will study in the tertiary structure of protein. Okay, now in quaternary structure of protein, what we will study? We will study the number and arrangement of subunits of polypeptide chain in protein molecules. Okay, so these are the 4 levels of protein structure. In primary structure we will study the sequence of amino acid. In secondary structure of protein we will study the means of manner in which polypeptide chains are folded or arranged in protein molecules. This will give the shape and conformation of protein molecules. In tertiary structure of protein we will study the further coiling, further bending, further folding of polypeptide chains. Means from the secondary, as I told you, the example of my hand, this is bend hand. Okay, but this is not the final shape. Okay, I may bend like that also, and now beyond that I can't bend. Okay, so this is the final one. Final overall shape of protein will be decided by tertiary structure. So further coiling, bending and folding of polypeptide chains. And in quaternary structure of protein, what we will study? We will study the determination of number of subunits of polypeptide chains and their arrangement. Okay, I will give you the examples of hemoglobin. Just see, the best example of quaternary structure of protein is hemoglobin. In hemoglobin, what is there? 4 sub-polypeptide chains are there. 4 sub-polypeptide chains are there. Now their structure, I will tell you their structure. Just see. Just a minute. Actually in NCERT books separately they have not given, but their hemoglobin structure is just like this one. This is 4 polypeptide chains are there, 4 polypeptide subunits are there, and they are folded. So their determination of number of polypeptide chain and their arrangement in the protein molecules, that is called quaternary structure. So just see, in the different level of protein structure we have studied different thing. In primary structure we studied the sequence of amino acid. In secondary structure we studied the manner in which polypeptide chains are folded. In tertiary structures we have studied the further folding, further coiling and further bending of polypeptide chains, so that we can get the ultimate or overall shape of protein. In quaternary structure what we have studied? Number and sequence of subunits of polypeptides. Okay, so this is over. Now manner in which polypeptide chains are folded or arranged, that can be 2 way, alpha helix way and beta pleated way. So just see, first I will tell you alpha helix structure. That is belongs to the secondary structure of protein. So the polypeptide chain can be coiled in alpha helical way. How? In alpha helix chain or alpha helix structure, polypeptide chain forms hydrogen bond by twisting into a right-handed screw helix with the NH group of each amino acid residue hydrogen bonded to C double bond O of an adjacent turn of helix. Just see, this is screw. Okay, now this is right-handed twisting. Just see, right-handed twisting. So just see, this is 1 turn, this is 2nd turn, this is 4th turn, like that. So right-handed screw moving is there or not? Just see. This is only right-handed. folding. Okay, now try to understand here. Now I will delete this one and will explain you. Okay, okay, so just see in the alpha helix structure. In alpha helix structure, what is there written? Polypeptide chains forms hydrogen bond by twisting into a right-handed screw helix with NH group of each amino acid residue hydrogen bonded to C double bond O of an adjacent term. Just see, this is means twisted amino acid, means it is a twisted polypeptide chain, right-handed screw helix, right-handed screw helix like. Are you getting my point or not? The simple one, a polypeptide chain is twisted around a, it is twisted, means polypeptide chain twisted into a right-handed screw, right-handed screw. Okay, this is one turn, or you can say this is one turn, this is second turn, this is third turn. We can say like that also, this is one turn, this is second turn, this is third turn, this is fourth turn. Okay, so just try to understand, in each turn in amino acid what would be there? Two things are there, NH group and CO. In polypeptide chain means amino acids are held together by peptide linkage. What is peptide linkage? CONH, that is peptide linkage. So at one turn, if C double bond O group is there, and in second turn NH group is there, NH group, so they would be bonded by hydrogen bond. Okay, similarly, suppose here C double bond O, here NH group is there, so they will be bonded by hydrogen bond. Similarly, suppose here NH group is there, so this will make hydrogen bond with the CO group of adjacent turn. So this is NH of this turn, and this is the CO of second turn, that is adjacent turn. So here hydrogen bonding would be there. Similarly, suppose C double bond O is here, so this is the CO residue of this turn, and this is NH residue of this turn. So they will be bonded with hydrogen bond. This is only alpha helix structure, and you know, because of hydrogen bonding only their helical structure is there, helical structure. Okay, so what it means, alpha helix structure, that is the part of secondary structure of protein. In secondary structure of protein, what we are determining? We are determining the manner in which polypeptide chains are folded or arranged. So these are the polypeptide chains twisting. So it is twisted into a right-handed screw helix structure. Okay, and in that helix structure, in each turn amino acids residue are there. So just see, when peptide linkage is formed, so in that peptide linkage two residue is there. One is the CO residue which has come from one amino acid, and another one is NH residue which has come from another, means first one amino acid. That is why at the beginning only I told amino means peptide linkage can only be formed when NH2 group of one amino acid and COOH group of other amino acids are combining together. Okay, and remember that all amino acids are having L configuration. NH2 should be left hand side only. So the NH2 group of one amino acid and COOH group of other amino acid is involved in the formation of peptide linkage. So in each turn, it doesn't mean that in this turn only CO group is there, so NH group won't be there. If one is CO, other may be NH group. So CO residue of one amino acid will form the hydrogen bond with the NH residue of another amino acid present in adjacent turn. Remember this one. Means with the same turn they will not form. They will form the hydrogen bonding with the residue of amino acid. Oppositively residue. What is the opposite residue of CO? NH. and CO is present in this turn, this is NH is present in another turn. So there is a hydrogen bonding between CO residue of one amino acid with NH residue of other amino acid present in adjacent turn, resulting into helical structure. This is the alpha helix structure, secondary structure of protein. Another one structure is beta pleated sheet structure. Beta plated sheet structure. Okay, now actually in this book they have given here, this is beta plated structure. Okay, they have made so much complex this one. I will try hard to simplify this one. Don't worry, you can do this one. It is very easy. Okay, so first try to understand, in that much only required for alpha helix structure. Don't go very deep into this one. If you will go very deep into this one, then there is one scientist, N. Ramchandran, Indian scientist. He has worked a lot in the alpha helical structure of protein. Okay, so that is the beyond the part of this book. We should not go very deep. Okay. Now in beta pleated structure, what is there in this structure? Polypeptide chains are stretched out to nearly maximum extension. Stretched out to nearly maximum extension, and then laid side by side, which are held together by intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Okay, just see. Simple thing I will tell you. Very simple way beta plated structure I will tell you. This structure resembles with the pleated fold of drapery, hence known as beta pleated sheet structure. Just see. As already I have explained you, in the polypeptide chains, two residue would be there. CO that has come from one amino acid, NH that has come from another amino acids. Okay, so in polypeptide chain, just see. Here NH2 should not be there, only NH should be there. Okay, so just see, RCH NH C double bond O. This is one part of peptide linkage. Correct? Am I correct or not? RCH NH. Why RCH NH C double bond O? Just see, they have made here. Okay, just you can check here. See here. Here, okay, just see, this is beta plated structure. So RCH C double bond O, this is one residue or one molecules. Okay, in polypeptide chain. Same way, just see, simple. This is RCH C double bond O. This is another one. Okay. Now here also second one. Here you started with R. Now do one thing. Same thing I am making. NHCH R C double bond O. But here what is there? R was first. Here R is inside. Here now this is inside. So this R should be outside. R CH C double bond O NH. Correct? Just only arrangement is required. Same way this side also. R CH NH C double bond O. NHCH C double bond O. Only arrangement is required. So this R is inside, so this R should be outside. This CO is outside, so this second one CO should be inside. Third one, this R is outside, this R should be inside. RCH C double bond O. Okay. So what is written first line? Polypeptide chains are stretched out to nearly maximum extension. Now this side again you can make. So these are the part of polypeptide chains. In all polypeptide chains, RCH NHCO, RCH NHCO, RCH NHCO, RCH NHCO, RCH NHCO, they would be there in all peptide chains. So first what they will do? They will stretch out maximum. Okay. Then what they will do? They will laid side by side. So this is one polypeptide chain part. This is another polypeptide chain. Side means another polypeptide chain. Now they have arranged side by side. Now just see. CO of one will make hydrogen bond with NH of second one. Okay. Now similarly this side also, this will make with this side also it is there. This will also make. Okay. Now this will make hydrogen bond with this one. Just see here, this is there. It is already bonded with this one. Okay. Now this will make hydrogen bond with this polypeptide chain. This will also form hydrogen bond with this polypeptide chain. So now try to understand. Here NH is there. Now both side NH is there, N terminal. So downside what should be there? CC terminal. Now you can reverse also. One will have N terminal, other you may have C terminal. Correct? So if suppose here only N is there, so at the end C. Now suppose here you are beginning ulta kar do, just reverse it. Make C double bond O here, NH is downside. So now this arrangement would change. Now this CO will come this side, this NH will come this side. This is nothing but a arrangement only. N terminal, N terminal. So this is N terminal of one polypeptide chain. This is N terminal of another polypeptide chain. So downside C terminal would be there. Suppose here you started with N terminal and ending with C terminal. This you can start with the C terminal. So if you are making C terminal, so this C double bond O would be here and NH would be in this place. Okay, so this would start with, if this would start with C terminal, so it must be end with N terminal. Okay, this is only beta pleated sheet structure. Okay, now only two I have made, here 3/4 like that only. So in beta pleated structure, what is there? Polypeptide chains are stretching out nearly to maximum extension. That is why here written nearly. They stretched out to nearly maximum extension. First they will stretched out, then they will laid side, one side, second, third, fourth, fifth, and they will form hydrogen bond. So hydrogen bond is always formed between CO and NH group, CO of one and NH of another amino acid residue. So that is, and what is their structure? This is sheet like structure. What kind of sheet structure? This is pleated folds of drapery. Pleated folds of drapery. That is why it is called beta pleated sheet structure. So remember this. Now what I taught you? I taught you the manner in which polypeptide chains are folded and arranged themselves in protein molecules. So beta pleated structure and alpha helix structure, they are the part of, just see, secondary structure of protein. Secondary structure of protein. That much only you have to study. No need to study beyond this one. That much is required for you. Okay. So initial information about the alpha helix structure and beta pleated structure you have got. So in this way the structure of protein is over. Okay. Now in diagrammatic form also we can tell primary, secondary and tertiary structure. Okay. So now diagrammatic representation of four structure of proteins. Okay. So if you are thorough with the theory part of structure of protein, very easily you can explain these structures, or very easily you can remember. In primary structure, we only know the sequence of amino acids. So just see, this is the sequence of amino acid. This is the diagram of primary structure of protein. This is in secondary structure. What is there? The manner in which polypeptide chains are folded and arranged. Okay. So just see, this is polypeptide chains are folded or not. In tertiary structure, secondary structure is further get folded. So just see, this is folded or not. Just see, this is folded. Okay, just see. This is folding of secondary structure resulting into this shape. So now ultimate folding of polypeptide chains is determined on the basis of tertiary structure, and this only will determine the overall shape of protein. Okay, in quaternary structure, what is there? How many polypeptide chains are there? So subunits of polypeptide chain, their sequence, their arrangement and their number. This is quaternary structures of protein. Okay, over. So this is also over. Diagrammatic representation. Why I taught this one? Because some of the sample question paper I have seen that they have given the diagram of these structures and they asked which category structure this one is. as far as protein is concerned. And you know that in this year pattern, what is there? Now graph, diagrams, based question will be asked more. So we should be careful. Over. So now this is completed. Now there are two terms. First term is native state of protein or native protein. Another one is denaturation of protein or denatured protein. So just try to understand here. Native state of protein. What do you mean by native state of protein? Just see. The protein which is energetically most stable, protein which is biologically very active, protein which is having three-dimensional structure. You know that protein is found in 3D structure only. So if native state of protein means energetically it is most stable, biologically it is most active, and it is found in their original three-dimensional structure. So such type of protein is known as native protein. Means biologically active protein is called native protein, and that is energetically stable and having three-dimensional structure. Now denaturation of protein. What is denaturation of protein? It is the process when native state of protein is disturbed by exposing the native state of protein to the physical change like change in the temperature or chemical change like change in the pH. Once again listen, denaturation of protein is the name of process in which native state of protein is subjected for change in physical change means when the native state of protein is subjected for physical change like change in temperature or chemical change like change in the pH, then what would be there? Now the hydrogen bond of protein structure will be disturbed, and once the protein structure hydrogen bond is disturbed, now polypeptide chain will be uncoiled. Polypeptide chain will be uncoiled, resulting into loss of biological activity. So just try to understand, when protein is subjected for denaturation, then what is happening? It is losing their biological activity, disturbance in the hydrogen bonding, and uncoiling of alpha helix structure or beta plated structure. There is a disturbance. But remember, so just see here what I told you, there is a uncoiling of helical structure or beta plated structure. So what we can say, during the denaturation of protein not only lose its biological activity, loss is because of the disturbance in the secondary and tertiary structure of protein. Okay, so during the course of denaturation of protein, secondary and tertiary structure of protein is disturbed. Primary structure of protein is not disturbed. Already I wrote here, when native state of protein subjected for physical change like change in temperature or chemical change like change of pH, resulting into disturbance in hydrogen bond, further resulting into uncoiling of helix and loss of biological activity. Only secondary and tertiary structure is disturbed. During denaturation of protein, primary structure does not get affected. So primary structure of protein belongs to the sequence of amino acids that determine the sequence of amino acids. So even you subject it change in the physical, means change in the physical change, okay, or chemical change like change in pH, then what would be there? Sequence of amino acid will not be disturbed. Only secondary and tertiary structure of protein will be disturbed. In secondary structure of protein, what is there? Manner in which polypeptide chains are folded, okay, so that would be disturbed. That is why uncoiling of helix is taking place. In tertiary structure, what is there? Further coiling, further bending, further folding is there. So secondary and tertiary structure is only disturbed during the course of denaturation of protein. Please remember this one. This is the only reason, that is why biological activity of protein is lost. Now best example of denaturation of protein is, just see, egg. When you boil the egg, then what would be there? Now that white part of protein is there or not? Albumins. that is protein only, albumins, that become now insoluble mass. What is happening during the boiling of egg? That changes into insoluble mass, and that cannot be gain the property of original protein. So the boiling of egg is an example of denaturation of protein. Second one is curdling of milk. Okay, that is also example of denaturation of protein. Coagulation of milk is also an example of denaturation of protein. Okay, there is one question, when you boil the egg, then where does water go? Actually, water is absorbed by very simple thing is there. When you subject the egg for boiling, then what would be there? The white part of egg, that is called albumins, that absorb the water, and now secondary and tertiary structure of protein will be disturbed. So that water is absorbed to form the insoluble mass of egg. That is why it is disappear. That question is there. Just see here. Where does the water present in the egg go after boiling the egg? So this water is involved in the formation of insoluble mass. Okay. So when an egg is boiled, the water present in the egg is used in the denaturation of protein, probably through hydrogen bonding. In this process, the globular protein in egg changes to rubber-like insoluble mass. So this question is also important. Just see, this is the page number 417, and I have taught this one. Where does the water present in the egg go after boiling the egg? This water is involved in the denaturation of protein, and it will be absorbed by the white part of egg to form the insoluble mass. Probably water is forming the hydrogen bond with the proteins. Okay, this is there. In this way, all proteins, their structure means all related information as far as protein is concerned is completed. Please write down this one also. Examples of denaturation of protein. So, what are the examples I told you? A curdling of milk, boiling of egg, coagulation of milk. These are the examples. Somewhere you can write examples of denaturation of protein. Denaturation of protein. First one is boiling of egg. Second one is curdling of milk. Okay, and third one is coagulation of milk. Please remember this one. And the most important thing is, just you remember that primary structure is not disturbed. Only secondary and tertiary structure is disturbed. Thank you. Okay, so now tomorrow I will teach you enzymes.